This may be useful to you even if you are not a Christian, because I was like a lot of knowledge workers when I was a pastor. When I had some time that I could decide how to use it, I did not know how to utilize my time. And so I looked up in the Bible, what do overseers and deacons and elders do? And there I didn't find much. Some of them teach, but they sort of administer things. So that wasn't enough. And so also I began to think about leadership and how a leader helps a group accomplish a goal or work towards a goal. So what is the purpose of the church or of Christians, of groups of Christians, that I could help contribute toward them getting in that direction? And I realized before long that there were a few different ways of describing the purposes of the church. Karl Barth said that we can see most clearly the task of the church in Acts 1:8. To use the simplest and biblical formulation, you will be my witnesses. That's sort of the thesis statement of the book of Acts. So you will be my witness, one purpose. And then Scott Sundquist says the church has two purposes, worship and witness. Ed Clowney said the church has three purposes, worship, nurture, and witness. And Rick Warren said that there are five purposes. That was a big book in 1995. He took that from Acts 2:42 to 47. And he said fellowship, discipleship, worship, ministry, and evangelism. And what I want to emphasize is that you can describe what the church is to be in a lot of different ways. But I want to emphasize that outward trajectory, that reaching outsiders side of the church. Because I think that with all organizations, they tend to serve the people already there. A company tends to do what the employees feel like rather than the customers. And so often the leader is helping the group focus on the larger purpose that they do exist for. Often that's the customer, the outsider for a church. And so, often churches will do a survey within the church about what the sermon series should be or what the priorities should be, but they often don't ask the people in the neighborhood. They're not as interested in that, in really trying to meet the needs of the outside community. And just again, to emphasize this, I see this in the Old Testament, the Hebrew Bible, with Abraham being called to bless the nation. So he's blessed to be a blessing. Jesus reached out to outsiders. The Spirit, the book of Acts is all about the Spirit going and going before the apostles who were a little dim, who were a little slow to realize that the Spirit was wanting to reach outsiders. Now, what you're going to say is there's a problem with this emphasis on outsiders, and that is that you actually kind of become an outsider, that you no longer have anything that's significant about the church or an organization who just does what the customer says, and they have no beliefs, no foundation. They're just wishy-washy. So yes, that is a possible issue. So you have to have some grasp of what you're about. Also, I think mission seems obnoxious, right? It seems like it's imposing on other people. It's getting involved in their stuff. It's bothering people. And I would just say that I agree with all that. Christians can be obnoxious. Mission and evangelism can be patriarchal, patronizing, colonialist, insensitive, harsh, coercive, all those things. But fundamentally, what we're trying to do, what Christianity is all about, is loving others. And I just think about the fact that our world is not doing great. And so I think mission would be a really bad idea, except for the fact that even before the COVID pandemic, 2015, 2016, and 2017, the life expectancy in the United States was going down. That's not great. It just says something about the health and the mental health, the suicides, the drug overdoses in our society. Something's wrong. So that's what we're trying to do. Or similarly, I think about the United Nations development goals, and the first ones are like poverty and hunger. Just the idea that, hey, that's what actually we're trying to do as a church, is to address human suffering, like Jesus did when he was walked the earth, really healing people and caring for people and being compassionate. That's what the church is supposed to be about, that kind of outward loving of others kind of thing. And I'll just end with Dietrich Bonhoeffer's quote, who is in a prison under Nazi Germany, about to be executed. And one thing he thought about when he thought about the church with that clarity of being in prison is he said, the church is the church only when it is there for others. So my encouragement to you as a leader of a church, as a leader of an organization, but especially as a leader of a church, is to keep in mind that reaching outsiders' purpose. I think that leads to clarity, it leads to dynamism, it leads to change, it leads to a lot of positive results if we focus on loving outsiders. That resistance to the inbred, just caring for those who are already there.